All these are lubricated, all the throttle linkage, all the injector return lines have been replaced. And this is a absolutely beautiful low mileage engine. That's the way they're supposed to look, and that's the way they're supposed to be serviced. All right guys, today we're just doing the full service, differential fluid, transmission fluid, brake fluid, power steering fluid on the 1982 300 SD, and super clean under here. Right now we're gonna drain the transmission fluid, and we're also going to remove the pan, replace the gasket, and put a new filter in there. So I'm just loosening these up because we're going to drop the pan. We'll first want to remove this Allen. All right, we'll go ahead and let that drain. And we also, on these cars, you also need to drain the torque converter. And you can spin the engine around, and there's a little Allen right up here, right there. See how I've rotated the engine? We see that little Allen plug right there? You have to drain the torque converter or you don't get it all out. We're going to try to catch it all as best we can. There it goes. See, it kind of drips onto the cross member and then comes over the cross member. So we will let that drain. And then, and the good thing is, this is very red, so fluid was in good condition. And you can see it come out of that torque converter. Definitely need to get all that old fluid out of there. All right, guys, while I'm waiting on the transmission to finish draining, I'm going to go ahead and drain the differential, rear differential oil. And always when you do this, you want to crack the fill plug. You want to make sure you can get the fill plug open first before you drain all your fluid. There we go. I already cracked it loose, so it makes it a little easier. You want to get this guy out of here. And then we're going to fill this up with some fresh 80W90 gear oil. All right, guys, that's pretty much done draining. It's got a little bit left to go. And before I put the plug back in, I like to clean up the threads and just put a little bit of this pipe sealant on there. And I just dab a little around there. Let's go ahead and get that guy started. There we go. And also I like to clean up the diff with some brake cleaner, just so you can get it clean and then watch for any fresh leaks or anything if they happen in the future. All right. To fill, I just use the, a pump on a big jug of 80W90 gear oil. And this takes a minute, guys, so I'll probably cut the recording here. All right, there we go. You see how it started to run out the side? And then you just grab your cap and you put it back on there. Let's just hit this with some heavy duty degreaser and get it all cleaned up. So we'll let that sit for a little while and then clean off the diff, and we're done with the diff service. All right, guys, done cleaning up the diff, and you can see that there's no leaks under there. So let's go back up here and see if we're done. Yep, looks like our torque converter is finished draining, so let's put our plug back in there. There it goes. Very, very clean. That fluid is bright red. It's obvious the owner was changing the transmission fluid, or else that would be all brown. There's the filter right here. We're going to replace that. There's a screw that holds it in there. And that looks fantastic up there. So let's go check out the pan. That's fantastic. Good. I'm just going to go ahead and clean up the entire pan, the exterior and the interior. Because why not? I've got it off the car. There we go. Just get up real good around all the edges. We'll get this thing super clean. Alright, once we got it clean, we just want to hit it with a microfiber. We'll get it all dry and super clean in there. And then we'll throw that new gasket on here and put it back up on the car after we change the filter, of course. Okay, here's an original Mercedes gasket, and you'll see it has little tabs, little hooks on the side. So it's kind of nice. You just lay the gasket on there, and then those hooks, they clip right over the side and they hold the gasket in place. And that's it. You don't need to do anything special here. Just put it on there. And the bolts to hold the pan on, you do not crank those down. And the reason is, see this tab, that's where the bolt goes through. And that's just a little stamped steel tab. Those will bend if you crank down and put a lot of torque. So I'd say maybe 10 foot-pounds or so around each bolt. And that is enough to seal that transmission. All right, guys, you notice I have not wiped the transmission down. You don't want to get any contaminants up there, and it's clean because we just pulled the pan off. So we don't want to wipe any of that down. We'll just let it drip. But to get the filter off, you undo Phillips screws. There we go. All right, here's the old transmission filter and the new. And you can see the filter paper elements in there. They're dirty on the old one. They've been doing their job effectively, but now it's time to change it and put a fresh one in there. See the fresh filter. So let's go ahead and pop this new filter in there and get the pan back on there and fill it with some fresh fluid. All right, guys, I just put one screw in to hold it so I can show you guys this. So on the top of the transmission, you have a little cork gasket right around here. And that plugs into this hole on the transmission. And then on the back, you have another cork gasket on the bottom that plugs in and seals around this hole on the back. So you want to get those, make sure those are fitted in there before you bolt that transmission up there. So let's go, I'm sorry, before you bolt that filter up there. So let's go ahead and put that on there. All right, there we go. We have a fresh filter in there. All right, guys, let's put our pan back on here. Remember, the gasket's already on there. Just want to slide it up there. Now, the pan has little tabs that make it automatically align with the vehicle. So let's get a couple of bolts in. They make it automatically line up on the transmission. I'm doing it by hand because it's aluminum. I don't want to mess up the threads. Remember, you don't want to go crazy tight. Notice, guys, I'm just doing it by hand. I'm not using the handle of the ratchet. That'll be too much torque if you crank it on the handle. There we go, guys. That is good. That pan is in there and it's ready to put some oil in there. All right, guys, we're on the home stretch. Going to change the oil and filter. There we go. And then we'll go up top side and do the valve adjustment and lubrication of the throttle linkage, along with power steering and brake fluid. All right. Okay, so these studs right here, there's one here and one here. There we go. There's one here and one here. Those are studs that are pressed in. So you don't want to go cranking down on these nuts. They only take like 10, 12 foot-pounds of torque. If you go cranking down on them, you're going to pull your studs out and mess up your oil filter housing and then have to fix it. So literally, you just snug them up like 10 foot-pounds. See how I'm just using my hand and I'm not gripping the ratchet. There we go. And that's it, guys. You don't go cranking down on those things. So let's put some fresh Rotella 15W40 in here. This is the stuff I use in all the diesels. And then we need some of the, where's my ATF? There we go. This is the compatible or recommended for Dexron 3. That's the type of ATF fluid. Yum. All right, guys, there's the dirty brake fluid. It's not that dirty, but it could be clear, so I'm going to go ahead and get it up on the lift and crack the bleeder valves and let all this drain and refill the system. We've drained the power steering fluid. You can see there's none in there. It's actually automatic transmission fluid that Mercedes puts in there. But the reason we did that is we want to change the power steering filter. And there we go. We can pull this old filter out of here. Looks like the top came detached. So let me just get the paper element. There we go. That is a crusty old filter element. Let's get the bottom piece out. There it is. All right, let's throw this away. We flushed all the fluid out of there. It's bone dry. That's actually the bottom of the reservoir you're looking at there. And we want to put in our fresh filter. There we go. Get that set down in there. Like that. And I'm going to need to bleed the system, but we want to fill it back up with ATF. Same stuff in the transmission. Now I'm going to need to go bleed the system by getting all the bubbles out of it and turning the wheel back and forth, and that's going to take a little time. I'm not going to record that. It'll be a pain in the butt. But put the spring back on there, and then we put our spring retainer like that. What else we need to do is change the main fuel filter. So I got a fresh one right here, and we're going to get a fresh one on there. There we go. Now, in order to make it easier to start the vehicle, you want to put some diesel into your filter before you screw it back on there. That way it'll prime the filter quicker and start up quicker. Under here. And it's a 22 millimeter. That'll just tighten our filter there. All right, that's good and snug. Wipe that off. All right, what we're going to do now is take this old original primer pump out. I've already broken it loose. We're going to get that thing out of here and put on this nice new primer pump. See, the Bosch comes with a replacement crush washer. So we want to make sure we get that crush washer in there, like so. And then we'll just get this started. And the way I get it tightened down is with a crow's foot. All right, you can see, let's see if I can get a better angle. I've got my crow's foot right there on the Bosch pump. And with the crow's foot, you can get leverage to torque that thing down. So let's go ahead. I'm trying to do it with one hand. So anyway, you guys get the idea. We'll go ahead and torque that onto there. Okay, the next thing we want to do, this is the final part of the service, is to get rid of these cheesy black injector return lines. These are the aftermarket kind. They're not the original Mercedes, and they're terrible. They don't last very long. They'll leak. And see, that one's already leaking right there. Those got to come out. You want to have definitely the Mercedes brand injector lines, return lines, which is right here. I have a couple of meters of it. And so we'll just cut these lines to length and get those popped onto the car. Guys, this is pretty easy. You go ahead and pull these injector return lines off, grab some needle nose, and if you already had some on the car, the easiest way to do it is to just cut some to the exact same length. And all you need, there we go, all you need is a sharp razor blade. And there you go. Just press straight down. And there we go. We have a cut injector return line. Sometimes you need to put a little oil on the tip to lube it so it goes on there. There we go. So that one's going on there, no problem. Whoops. And you just push it down on there. Sometimes you can spin it a little. And there you go. You want it to fully seat down there. And then the other end, you can see, is right there. And you want to put that on there. So, there we go. And you can just wiggle it. Let's see if I can get a better view. There we go. Wiggle it back and forth a little bit. And it'll go down on there. Twist it and turn it a little bit. There we go. That is on and seated. That's the original Mercedes brand. These will last you a couple of years, if not more. These black aftermarket ones are terrible. So I'm going to get all those off of here, including the one that runs back to the filter housing. And we'll be done with the service on this engine. Here is a little trick I use. Makes them slide on easier. I have my oil can, and you just squirt a dab of oil down each side. And that doesn't hurt anything at all. It'll burn right off, or doesn't hurt the diesel engine at all. And that makes them slip on there just a little bit easier. All right, there we go. And we might need to pop off. There we go, popped off the cruise control line. And there we go. It just squeezes right on there. All right, guys, you saw me pop off the cruise control actuator or lever. And what's really important with all of these throttle linkages, everything, there we go, everything on top of the engine. See all the little ball pivots, ball and sockets, one down here, one against the firewall, there's one up here. What's really important for proper servicing is to lubricate these. And you want to do it with ATF fluid. I just use a little syringe with ATF fluid. And you squirt it all over the valve cover. No, you squirt just a little on there and a little up in the ball there, and then reassemble it. And sometimes it'll snap back on easily. Well, that one went on easily. If they don't, you can use some channel locks and just tap them on there. So I'm going to go ahead and service the rest of these. I still have to finish putting on the diesel return lines. You see I haven't done all of them yet. I just wanted to show this servicing. There you go. You can get a good angle of a lot of these little ball socket throttle linkages. That's the word I was looking for earlier. So to get them off, what you want to do, you can use a flathead screwdriver and pry right underneath it, and they'll pop right off. And again, we're going to move that one out of the way, because when I put the valve, all this has to come off when you do a valve adjustment. So when I did the valve adjustment and put everything back on, I forgot to lubricate it. So now I got to go back and pop them off and lubricate them again. And guys, I'm not going to record. I didn't record the valve adjustment because you guys have seen that in my other videos. It takes about an hour to go through all of the valves and check them. And so that's a very tedious process. It's not difficult. It just takes time, and I wasn't going to include that as part of this video. But if you want to know how to do that, you can go look at some of my other videos. So let's lubricate this guy here too. There we go. And we'll pop these back on here. There we go. Now we'll just slowly go through the rest of these and we'll pop them back off. And I usually wipe them off with my hand and then throw some ATF on there. I'll squirt a little in the ball also. All right, that one's tough to get on, so that's where I take the channel lock there and you just squeeze it on. There you go. And wipe this one off. So I think you guys get the idea. So we're going to go ahead and this will finish up the servicing on this engine, and this thing will be ready to go. All right guys, we are done with the service. All these are lubricated, all the throttle linkage, all the injector return lines have been replaced, and this is a absolutely beautiful low mileage engine. That's the way they're supposed to look, and that's the way they're supposed to be serviced. So this complete car has been serviced, and suspension's been done, shocks, original radio, you name it. The list is long. So the walk around and driving video will be posted next. Enjoy.